Welcome to a Sam Roberts Now Addendum. I'm Sam Roberts. These are the shorter videos that we put out during the week. Every Friday night, Sam Roberts Now goes live on this channel, youtube.com/notsam, right around 10 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you're subscribed to this channel. Smash like on this video already. And this is a topic I'm going to want your opinion on. So make sure you tell me how you feel and where you land on this in the comments, because this is a conversation that I feel like enters the sphere every month or so. The question is, Blockbuster Video, does it deserve our love? Nostalgia is at a point now where I feel like it has never been higher, and it only gets higher. And for Blockbuster, it's as big a part of the conversation as it's ever been. This documentary that came out earlier in the year or last year, it's on Netflix now. It's called The Last Blockbuster, and it's basically about the last Blockbuster Video. There were thousands and thousands and thousands of Blockbuster Video stores. And in 2021, there's only one store left. It's in Bend, Oregon, and it looks just like the Blockbuster videos that we were all raised on, that we all miss, that we all love. But the question has come up. Should we look back on Blockbuster Video fondly? This tweet is the tweet that started the conversation most recently from Ahmad Zagal. The romanticization of Blockbuster, a behemoth that came into towns and destroyed local video stores as well as the wider variety of movies they offered, is weird. First of all, Ahmad, you sound like you'd be a lot of fun at a party, and I really feel like with all those SAT words, you could have ended that tweet stronger. Is weird. Way to describe the situation, but he is right. Blockbuster Video is not without its problems. Look, the story of Blockbuster Video is so fascinating, not just because of how big it was, not just because of how we all were affected by it, but because of how tremendously it failed. And Blockbuster Video deserved to fail on every conceivable level. Number one, they made the mistakes. Blockbuster Video was so happy with where they were at that they did not move with the times. They did not evolve. At one point, they had the opportunity to buy Netflix. Netflix at one point could have been purchased by Blockbuster for $50 million. I feel like if I had the opportunity to buy Netflix for $50 million, I'd start the greatest GoFundMe that anybody has ever seen. They made bad choices. At one point, they had the technology to make what would have been the first kind of movie streaming service. They decided not to do that because, come on, the DVD business is so good. Where is that going? So eventually, like a lot of brick and mortar businesses, Blockbuster ends up collapsing. But I'm not even talking about the fact that they made mistakes that led to the collapse of the business. I'm talking about the fact that karmatically, Blockbuster morally kind of deserved to fail. I mean, Blockbuster made it so that all businesses around them failed. The movie rental business was huge. There were mom and pop movie rental stores everywhere. And if you think Blockbusters were cool, go into a mom and pop video rental store. The stuff that you could find there if they had it in stock. Blockbuster had all these tricks that made it so that you could not compete with them as a video store. Number one, they would come into a town, and the first thing they try to do is buy up businesses. When people didn't want to sell their video stores or change them into Blockbusters, Blockbuster would open up down the street. And you'd go, well, I mean, Blockbuster opens up down the street. It's survival of the fittest, right? No, Blockbuster was this giant conglomerate corporate media source. At one point, Blockbuster was making $800 million a year just based on late fees alone. See, one of the reasons that videotape rental places got so popular was because when VHS first came out, they were extremely expensive. Movie studios were convinced that if you could get your movie on a VHS tape, why would you ever go to a movie theater? So those things cost like $100 a pop. What video rental stores did was they bought the videotapes at these high prices, but then rented them for $5 a night, and they made their money back, and then you could watch your movie on your VCR for $5. However, that meant that you couldn't go around spending thousands of dollars to make sure that you had dozens of copies of the latest releases. That's exactly what Blockbuster did. See, one of the things you learn in this documentary is that Blockbuster They went out and they made deals with all the studios. They made it so that the studios could participate in the profits earned from people renting their movies. And you'd say, well, why didn't the mom and pop business do that? Because the mom and pop business was renting to a few people in one town. Blockbuster was renting to every town in America. So when the studios were participating in the rentals, they would send Blockbuster as many copies as Blockbuster needed, which meant that if you wanted Die Hard 2, the weekend Die Hard 2 came out, guess what? Guaranteed it's sold out in your mom and pop shop. But Blockbuster Video, we all remember going in. We all remember looking at the wall. Thousands, virtually thousands of copies were on that wall. And it made it so you would never go back to the mom and pop place because as much as you liked it, Blockbuster had what you wanted. Then, once Blockbuster had what you wanted, and they started driving out all of these smaller video stores, they became the gatekeepers of Hollywood. One of the best scenes in this Blockbuster documentary that's on Netflix is Lloyd Kaufman from Troma, the God, talking about how Blockbuster would never carry Troma movies. No Toxic Avenger, no Class of Nukem High, no Return to Nukem High, Troma's War, Tromeo and Juliet. You couldn't get any of them. You'd have to sit there and wait until the USA Network played Up All Night with Rhonda Shear at midnight and hope that one of Uncle Lloyd's movies would show up on your TV screen, and maybe you had your VCR running and you could hit record, and with the commercials, you'd get an edited version of the movie that you wanted to see. But Blockbuster made it more difficult for a lot of these smaller companies to get their movies seen because everybody got their movies from Blockbuster. I mean, most of the people that worked at Blockbuster said they didn't like it. It wasn't like Empire Records. It wasn't like you could just go around doing whatever you wanted. You had to wear those dumb blue shirts and khaki pants all the time. But here is why you have to love Blockbuster. Here is why you have to take tweets like Ahmad's tweet and throw it in the garbage. Because we can't love the things that we love based on the morality of a capitalist system. It's never going to turn out in our favors. You love the things that you love based on how they made you feel. We've all had great memories of an ex-girlfriend. And then you go and you're like, I haven't talked to her in years. Let me go and meet her for lunch. And then you meet her for lunch. And you're sitting there talking to her. And you get reminded, oh my God, that's right. I hate this person. This is why we're not together anymore. I can't stand the sight of them. But you didn't remember any of that. All you remembered was how you felt when it was good. This is the celebration of Blockbuster Video. This is why I will at some point make the trip all the way to Bend, Oregon, so I can see and be inside the last Blockbuster Video. Because I want that feeling again. That feeling of it being Friday night and walking into the wrestling section and finding the latest Coliseum home video. I want that feeling again. I want to rent SummerSlam 92 again. That's what nostalgia is. We're not sitting there celebrating what a fabulous company Blockbuster was. We're not sitting there going like, oh man, Blockbuster was great. Remember how wonderful that CEO was? We're watching documentaries about the last Blockbuster, and we're talking about Blockbuster, and we're buying Blockbuster hoodies and t-shirts with the old logo on it, not because we're sitting there going, this is how you should run a company. We're not boring tools like the people who object to it. It's because of the feeling that you got. It's because it was fun. It's because you weren't sitting there thinking about like, oh, well, you know what they've done to this filmmaker, or, oh, you know, a store used to be here. It was just fun. You'd go with your family, you'd get pizza, and then you go into the store and you just scan the walls, scanning all the walls, looking at tape boxes, going into the horror section and finding the oddest, weirdest thing you could find. But the point is that questioning the ethics of Blockbuster has literally nothing to do with the romanticization of Blockbuster. It's not Blockbuster we're celebrating. It's us. It's our feelings. It's fun. So, the next time you find yourself thinking, man, I had a great time going to this store. If only I knew then what they were doing to small businesses. If only I knew then that their employees weren't being treated as well as other employees. If only I knew then, just shut up, you're thinking too much already. If the thought process starts with, man, I used to love going to McDonald's as a kid. Don't start thinking about minimum wage. Don't start thinking about calories. Don't start thinking about sugar. Just think about how you felt when you got that Happy Meal that was destroying your insides. Don't think about the insides that are being destroyed. Think about how you felt when you went into Blockbuster. Think about how you felt. That's what nostalgia is. And that is why it's not that weird that Blockbuster and places like it get romanticized.